In this video, we will conclude our examination of the scope of the UCC Article 2 by addressing how other state and federal laws may limit the scope of Article 2. Recall, the UCC is state law. Each state has adopted the UCC by act of its state legislature. And as state law, the UCC may be supplemented or superseded by other state laws. For example, we already noted that state usury laws applicable to interest rates may limit the interest rate that may be charged even in a contract for the sale of goods. Likewise, state lemon laws applicable to the sale of cars may supplement or supersede the provisions of UCC Article 2, even though a car is clearly a good. And because we are talking about state law here, federal law may also supplement or supersede each state's UCC. Most importantly in this context, as we have previously noted, the United States is a signatory to the CISG, the Convention on the International Sale of Goods, which means that this convention, this treaty, is binding on the U.S. and therefore supersedes any state law under the federal Constitution's Supremacy Clause. The CISG governs international transactions involving goods. Other signatories to the treaty include Canada, Mexico, China, Japan, Germany, and Brazil, many of the world's major economies. The CISG is covered in detail in a separate course, International Business Transactions. But its relevance here is that if the CISG applies to a particular sales transaction, then the treaty supersedes each state's UCC Article 2. So it is important for the purposes of Article 2 to know at least when the CISG applies and therefore supersedes Article 2. The answer here is quite simple. The CISG applies to transactions only when three things are true. If the transaction is between commercial parties whose places of business are in different countries, and both countries have signed and ratified the CISG. Notably, the CISG does not apply where a transaction involves a retail consumer. In the language of the treaty, it does not apply to goods bought for personal, family, or household use. So, generally speaking, the treaty governs cross-border transactions between businesses. Conversely, it does not apply when someone like me or you is the purchaser in a transaction. So that's it. You made it. At least you made it through the first week's video lectures. To summarize what we have covered so far, in this week's module, we looked at the scope of Article 2 and the kind of transactions that are included and excluded from the scope of Article 2. We also looked at how courts deal with mixed transactions, transactions that involve both the sale of goods and some non-goods component. And we finished by identifying the limits the CISG places on the scope of Article 2 in the context of cross-border transactions. In the next module, we'll really sink our teeth into the substance of Article 2 by looking at questions of contract formation under UCC Article 2.